No.
Welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast.
Hello and welcome to the My Haunt Life podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
And Russell, haunt season is coming up and we're going to be talking about a ton of haunted houses. But these are the haunted houses that are built for Halloween and they have spooky ghosts and zombies and we get scared. But today we are somewhere with a special guest that lives in a real haunted house.
Absolutely we are.
Mr. David Oman, thank you for being on the podcast with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me on tonight, please.
Now, you live in a haunted house, and not a haunted house that we usually talk about, like with the zombies and stuff and fake blood, but you live in a legitimate haunted house with ghosts and spirits. And please give us a brief history on that.
Well, you might have heard of me from a few different television shows that I've been on, starting with Ghost Hunters 10 years ago in 2007. And then I was on My Ghost Story, then Paranormal Witness, Haunted History, Ghost Adventures, and then Ghost Adventures Aftershocks. And it's not like I bought the house, because there was nothing here. What we actually bought was the lot. In 1998, my father told me about this lot, and I came up here, and it's like, okay. It's like, great. So my father says, we're going to build a house on this. And it's like, oh, grand, I love it. And so that's basically the background of the story here, that my father and I built this house. And interesting things were happening during construction that always left me kind of curious, is the sense that I wasn't ever alone when I was walking on the job site. And then 6 months before we were done, I asked my laborers, I said, have you guys had any weird experiences over the past 2 years working here? And one of the guys says, yeah. Midsummer 6 months ago, mid-July, I'm on the third level working, and I hear voices and footsteps coming from the top floor. And he says it's about 6 o'clock, and it's about 90 degrees out, and he's the last one here working. And he comes up to the top floor, figuring it was my father or me. Well, he goes and he looks around the entire top floor, and he finds nobody here. So he goes out onto the front of the driveway and looks, and he starts to notice there's no cars out on the driveway. And he says, I go back downstairs and I start working, figuring it's the neighbors or somebody across the canyon or the people down below. And I'm hearing the sounds echoing from down below. And all of a sudden, he says, I start hearing the voices and footsteps again coming from the top floor. So this time he runs upstairs with a hammer, and he's getting all frustrated, and he's going through the second floor first. Then he goes through the top floor, and he says, that's it. There's nobody here. I'm getting home. He goes downstairs, and as he's packing his bags, he says he starts to hear the sound of footsteps coming down the spiral staircase against the planks that were in position for the stairs. And he says they're getting louder and louder. So he gets himself in the other room, hiding behind the door, expecting for somebody to get to the bottom of the landing and scare him. So he goes, and he says it got so loud, it sounded like it got to the bottom of the landing, and it stopped. So he runs out the doorway, and he looks, and at the landing at the time, when we were building the house, was all an open landing space at the bottom of the third level, and he says, there's nobody there. But then it happens, he said. This ice-cold breeze just comes across the nape of his neck, and it's literally about 2 inches wide, and it comes whizzing across the back of his neck. He says the hairs on his entire body stood straight up, and he screams, "Dos míos, llame boy," which translated from Spanish means, oh my God, I'm leaving. And he didn't come back for 6 weeks. And I remember this incident, not the incident that he's telling me now, but I remember the incident when he took off. Because I asked the other guys, I said, hey, where's Juan? When's he going to be back? He goes, oh, he'll be back a couple weeks. He's taking care of his sick mother in San Salvador. And I'm like, okie dokie. And he was the man who was putting in the tiles in the house. And I said, well, he's only got the master bedroom to finish, to put the tiles in, and I'm getting awfully tired of waiting for him. So I took it upon myself to do the tile work in the master bathroom. Let's just say, as easy as it looks, It's a hell of a lot more difficult than an average person can sit there and try to do. And to this very day, some 15 years later, the tiles in the master bathroom some are a little closer than others. Some of them are a little taller than others. There is no rhyme or reason to the pattern in the gosh darn layout of the marble. These are the simple things that you take for granted when you hire somebody that's a professional and knows what they're doing. You know, they come up with some ideas on the pattern and they look at the patterns of the tiles and say, you know, we want to get this vein pattern going through. Not so in my master bathroom. It looks like the biggest jigsaw puzzle where no piece was in the right place, and the lines and the veins in the marble are going in opposite directions, making no rhyme or reason. Color patterns, oh, you know, it's natural stone. It all has different patterns. Yeah, but usually you try to make it so that you take the darker pieces and put them in one section, and then you put the lighter ones, so you get a nice kind of an effect. No, not exactly in my thing. It looks like somebody that was less than had eyesight did it. I mean, Helen Keller could have done a better job than I did in that master bathroom. I kid you not. And people go, I want to see the master bathroom for myself. I don't believe you're right. Oh, my God. The hell is that freaking shit? Oh, my. And I mean, it's just like, and I sit there and say, yeah, if you think I'm lying about the story, just go take a look at the master bathroom and tell me what you think. And they're going, yeah. You'd have to be the biggest dork to lie about a story and make that up and cover that as your reason why that's all the way it is. But that's the story behind the tiles in the master bathroom, and one of the strangest experiences pre-moving in here that I've ever had.
Now, your house is on a famous street, which, yeah. Do you want to go into that? Yeah, about 48 years ago, about 150 feet from where my house stands, stood one, what was it? I guess we all know it as the Sharon Tate or Polanski home and residence, which stood there once upon a time. And yeah, that's where the Charles Manson murders and the family, or his family, so to speak, went and committed one of the most atrocious, heinous crimes in the 20th century. And that took place down the street from my house, yeah. Yeah, when you walk out your door and look to the left, you see the gates and you see the telephone pole where Tex climbed, and it gives you chills when you think about it.
Yeah, well, the gate was changed I guess a couple times since the original gate, which was really just a chain link fence. As I recall, because I actually saw the original fence, there was a wooden plank fence on the left-hand side that was made up about 15 feet going off to the side of the road, and then there was literally a 6 foot tall chain link fence that was the gate that led into the Tate property. And I actually was there way back I guess in the day, about 10 years after the murders. We used to go up there to hang out and check out the place, and you could literally stand in front of the gate, and I remember piles of newspapers that were just accumulating in front of the gate as if somebody was not living there. That's what I remember about it 10 years after the murders took place. Yeah, it was strange. It was surreal, to be honest with you. Especially, like I said, ending up 20 years after I'd been here in high school, coming up here and seeing the lot in 1998 and going, okay, they're literally pointing down at the end of the driveway going, that's where the Tate murders took place. Oh, my God. And at that time, the house had been torn down and the gates and all that had been removed from the property. And actually, they moved the telephone pole from the left-hand side of the street and moved it to the right-hand side of the street, actually. So nothing is really left of the original house that was there in 1969.
So you have this horrific crime and these horrific murders that happened, and your house has a ton of paranormal activity. Do you think one has to do with the other?
Even though we're all very, as you say, we're joking about that commentary, that was just the water cooler. Okay. The fact of the matter is that in spite of the fact, or let me reiterate that, had the murders not taken place 150 feet down the street from my house, this house would still be vastly haunted. It's just, as you say, it's just a how to, I take it back. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. What I'm saying, what I wanted to say is that in spite of even if what I was saying even had the murders not taken place there, this house would still be a very active location, paranormally speaking. And that's the fact that the house sits on a geomagnetic anomaly, and the way that the house is designed by the structural engineer, who basically took my father's architectural designs and said, look, considering the fact that we live in California and you're in a seismic zone of such proportion, we have to incorporate some steel into the framing. So there's a lot of extra steel in the property, in the framing, and as a result, we've got a large EMF, DC EMF, which stands for electromagnetic field anomaly, that exists in the house. So, for instance, as I've seen it, when you would come in or you would come in the house, the spirits that are around you and each and every one of us, upon hitting this environment and coming through the threshold of the house, the spirits that are around you hit this environment and are like, oh my, oh wow, I can derive my energy off of what's in this atmosphere in this house. And that's what happens. A lot of people come here with the expectations of seeing Sharon Tate. And I use a very logical, and it might be conceived as a conceited point of view, but I say, why would somebody that is a individual that is a celebrity who has passed away some 48 years ago, who doesn't know you, who you never knew, you have no connection to, why would they transcend across the planes of existence to come and visit you? It makes no sense. So as I said, the shortest distance between a spirit and an individual is the spirit of somebody that you knew, that when they were alive, they were somebody that was close to you in some regard, and that's who's coming to visit you. Not the idea of I'm going to go to David's house and see Sharon Tate because I'm her biggest fan, and the spirit of Sharon Tate's going, okay, so you're number 10,561,000 million person that has basically felt a connection to me. I don't feel that. I'm sorry. I don't know you. I have no reason to be connected to you. So therefore, I think I'm going to defer to your relative that's here, wants to talk to you. That's how I feel about the paranormal activity in the house.
You're almost making it sound like the house in ways is an amplifier?
Exactly. The house, according to Lisa Williams and Marianne Minkowski and James Van Prague, is almost like a portal. And same with Barry Taft. Barry Taft surmised that 11 years ago when he was doing the scientific research here. He brought in all these pieces of equipment, a digital geomagnetometer. Did I just hear a dog bark?
I heard
I
something.
think you did, yes.
Yeah.
Except the sound of that dog's bark was not a sound of my dog's barking. That was like a small dog.
It's like, "Rah."
Yeah, and it sounded like a small dog. And my dogs have much deeper baritone, bellicose type of barks. And I was like, what the hell was that? I think we just had, I'm sorry to say this. I mean, I think that we just heard a spirit voice come through. And I don't know if it was a spirit, a human-esque spirit being humorous, going, ruff, ruff, which I've had happen here before, actually. But that was strange. I heard that like,
Yeah.
the hell was that? And it sounded like it was like right at my feet almost. That's my cats. Bite your tongue. I didn't want to give you any time on. I wasn't talking about the dogs here. They're talking about a spirit. Oh, God, cats. Always got to get your gosh darn 2 cents in, huh, Tommy? Good. I'll feed you after I'm done. Don't worry. You're not going to starve to death. I promise. All right, sorry about that. So as we were saying about the activity, well, what I'm trying to say is that the house is, it's almost like you said, like an amplifier. I use the analogy of taking a reptile from a cold environment and putting it into a warm environment, that the atmosphere and the environment of the cold environment keeps it very sluggish, but you put it into a warm environment, it derives its energy off of the atmosphere and the warmth in the atmosphere, and it becomes active. The same thing with spirits in this house is what we've concluded, and we've seen, many times before.
So you had the workers building the house talk about things that they had happened. When you moved in, what was the clincher for you where you were like, holy crap, I live in a haunted house?
The clincher. Well, before I moved in, I hate to say the clincher was knowing what he had said to me. It was pretty much and obvious that when I was walking around on my own, I could feel, like I said, it was like I'm walking around on the second floor, and I'm like, whoa, sorry about that.
It's okay.
I'm like, oh my God, it's like, yeah, Jose, and there's no one there, and I'm like, oh no, I felt somebody walk up, and you can almost like feel this presence, like an energy just buffering against you, going, all right, there's somebody there. It's like, yeah, what is it? There's no one there. I guess the clincher after I moved in for stuff that was happening was just seeing things out of the corner of my eye, darting, like shadows moving by and going, all right, I saw something. Or having objects go from one part of the house to another part and saying, all right, I know I put my keys down on the desk on the counter when I came in. What the hell is it doing downstairs in my bedroom when I haven't even been there today? And there the hell are my keys when they were upstairs on the counter in the kitchen. It was just small little incremental, incidental things that incrementally started to kind of build up, and one on top of the other, on top of the other, and I can hear my dogs walking around below us. So if you dogs would mind not being so disruptive, God help them. So it was just a matter of things. Oh, I'll tell you what it was. My dog Sebastian, Rhodesian Ridgeback, about. Sebastian was probably about 95. So he's about 8 years old. He's an adult, and he's pretty, mellow dog. But the reason why I bought the Ridgebacks is because Rhodesian Ridgebacks don't bark. And I don't like a dog that yap, yap, yap. No, thank you. They're very territorial and protective of their territory. So if somebody's coming in to their territory, they will bark. Well, Sebastian started howling and bellowing at the front door. And I'd go open the door thinking there'd be somebody there, and I'd look and I'd see no one there. After about 10 times in incidents of this taking place after the first couple of weeks, I started to say, there's something to this. He's never done this before, ever in his life. And I said, I wonder what he's sensing. And I could feel that he wasn't having a nervous breakdown. He was really responding as if there was somebody there. And it was pretty clear, and I was like, and then we had the experience where we had the knocks at the door. There'd be a knock at the door, and I'd go to the front door, and there'd be nobody there. And this was right after Sebastian started barking, and I'm like going... And it was almost like a teasing type of a gesture, like, all right, we're going to play with the dog. We know you're conditioned to the dog barking, but what about if there's a knock, 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 and there's no one there? What are you going to say then? It's like going... And I sat there, I said, all right, spirits, I know you're here. I said, nobody else is doing this. You're screwing with the dog, and now you're screwing with me knocking on the door. I said, all right, I got it. I understand. And it didn't really bother me. To me, it was like, okay, so fine. I live in a house where there's activity. And, of course, the first thing that I'm thinking is it's directly connected to the murders at the end of the street. And this is long before... Barry Taff was here. This is going back to the year 2002, and Barry didn't come visiting until 2005. So I'm just, hanging around the house, and I'm starting to feel like, it's pretty cool. I built this house, and I got spirits that are hanging around here. I said, this is pretty tight. I kind of enjoy this stuff. And most people are like going, hello, spirits. I said, what the hell what are you worried about? I said, I built the house. I said, if anything, those sons of bitches owe me a debt of gratitude. And that's how I treated it. It's like, there's spirits. It's like, all right, fine, if we can't get along and we don't set down some ground rules, then we're going to have a mess of it. But so far, it's been like the intermittent lights turning on in the middle of the night, the television turning on, objects moving from one room to the other, a chair sliding from the den into the living room, and the path from the stairs up to the kitchen. I mean, that kind of stuff. And I don't really feel bothered by it. I always find it amusing and curious, and kind of like they're just saying, we're here. It's okay. We're just letting you know we're here. And I'm like, all right, fine. Nothing too malicious, nothing too dramatic, nothing too outrageous that really concerns me and makes me feel like I'm in any way, shape, or form threatened or in harm's way. Because if that was the case, I'd unleash a whole can of whoop ass on them. And I mean that in a very much in an honest sense, but if you ask me how would I do that, I'd look at you straight in the face and said, I have no clue. I have no idea what I would do. But as long as I'm going to play the part of going to say, I've got something up my sleeve, I'll bluff them out on that. and I'll stand my ground as if I did. Whether or not I have it, I don't think is so important as it's the effect of standing your ground and basically saying, I respect you, but in the same token, you must respect me. We have to have mutual respect. And I think that that's a lot of what is lacking in the paranormal field for the most part. It's an issue of respect for the spirits, because as I've said before, people, how do you live there? How do you manage to deal with it? And it's like, well, as I said it before, we're all going to pass from the earth at some point. So to piss and moan and to groan about the fact that we're going to die is kind of foolhardy, because it's going to happen. There's no one that I know that's ever lived, forever. And therefore, if that's the case, and you're going to spend 0.1% on this plane of existence, pissing and crapping all over the spirits, no matter how you want to say it, and disrespecting them, you're going to be putting up a lot of brownie points on the negative column. So when you hit that other side, you're going to have a lot of bounty points that you're going to have to make up for that which you have passed, in past life experiences have accumulated. And that's why I said when Lisa Williams famously came here and stood at the top of the landing, top of the dining room, going down 2 steps into the living room, she looks over in the bar and she goes, "Do you know you have a big party over in your bar?" And I'm going, squinting my eyes, going, I don't see anything. And she goes, "Oh, yes, Jay's there and Sharon's there, and there's Rudolph Valentino and some other people I don't recognize, and some Native Americans as well." And I'm going, "Native Americans? What the hell is she talking about?" And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "They all want me to tell you that they really appreciate you allowing them to hang out in your house." And I looked and I said, "Look, I've seen the photographs at the LAPD crime scene of how Sharon Tate was killed and the other 4 people, and I said, I don't feel like I want to be the one that adds insult to injury to those who have passed such a horrific death. I said, so to be honest with you, if they want to hang here and they're here, and whoever the hell else is here, by all means." I literally almost raised my glass and said, "To them that are here, please enjoy yourselves. It's mi casa su casa." I didn't even say it. I said, my house is to me, the house is big enough to be shared with the spirits. I don't feel encumbered and hindered. And she was like, "Well, that's what they like about," she says, "they love your attitude." I'm like going, okay. I mean, I shrug it off and people go, "Why do you shrug it off?" And it's like, because I put myself in their shoes, and nobody ever does that. You're a paranormal investigator, and you're always thinking from your own little, your own perspective of me, and I'm the center of the universe. It's like, screw you, you're not the center of the universe. You're trying to communicate with spirits of disembodied individuals who have passed away. You better afford them some certain amounts of respect, because if you don't, and you get to the other side, you're going to get your ass kicked a lot around the other universe, as far as I'm concerned. And I have news for you. If what I'm saying is true, with a grin on my face, since you in the audience can't see this, Mr. Zach Baggins, you are going to have a hellacious, unpleasant eternity for all that you have done. And I can only base that upon the limited time that you actually sat in my home, which was all of 3 little minuscule hours. My dear friend, you have a hell waiting for you, even if you make it to heaven. Just because you made it to heaven doesn't mean they're not going to kick your ass for the obscenities you produced while you were alive. And that's what I personally believe. I think he's going to be crapped on left, right, and center. Who knows? We'll see what happens in this plane of existence before he's done. I don't know. All I know is that I've been here 15 years, and I got crapped on and assaulted verbally by him, claiming that I am a fraud. I'm like, I'm a fraud? And can you explain to me in what way I'm a fraud? You could spend 3 hours in my house, I lived here 15 years, and you claiming that I'm the fraud and that I'm the poltergeist agent. And last I checked, on every single episode in the past 3 seasons, you've been getting possessed. Ooh, that sucks. Yes, I call that repossession of the 3rd degree. My God, like a black belt that doesn't have eyes and can't see. What's the good of it?
It's interesting what you were talking about, giving them room and respect. I actually have a friend who is a medium, and I've had that conversation with him, and one of the things he does is he calls it just a basic negotiation. I'm like, okay, fine, if you're going to hang out, I have a couple of requests. Respect my boundaries. I'll respect yours. And he has no problems. Like, he has sane, civil, encounters. He's had a couple of times where he's had to say, like, don't touch me. He has had a couple of those moments.
Good luck. Spirits like a dog. A dog doesn't have to listen to you just because you said it.
So,
I don't personally believe it's something that has to be spoken. A lot of people do that.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be.
I have to speak to the spirits. Are you goddamn kidding me? The spirits are cognitive of the second you walk in the frickin' door. The moment you walk in, it's like, we understand who the hell you are. We don't need you to say 2 words. It's the fact that people believe, sorry, I'm channeling Harry Houdini, who's saying the show is too great for the humans not to want it. They need to believe in a show. They need to see the show they want because they're not accepting, so they need to hear and to see the bravado and see this whole spectacle. It's because they can't accept it on the face value that when that person walks in, however, he says, certain people, he goes, when I walk in a room, people would stop and just immediately look at me and knew that I was there. He says certain people have a sense of presence and a certain charisma and charm, a certain type of he's a joie de vivre. Very funny, Harry. Eric. All right, Eric. He says, Mr. Weiss to you. Thank you very much, Harry. God help us. No, he says that this what he combated 100 years ago in the 1950 during the Great War, which was, he's talking about World War I. He says his friends of his, there were socialites and well-to-do individuals like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, whose son died in the terrible war. He goes, a lot of these people had voids in them, and they were looking for a connection to the other side. And he says he saw all these people walking around, almost like they were decapitated or were amputees when they physically weren't, but part of their being was removed and severed, like their sons and stuff. And so people were very much interested in banking on that need and that desire to communicate with their dead, lost relatives. He goes, it was big in late 1800s and late 19th century, but it came back hugely and more how should you say, prolifically during the 1900s, in the 19-teens, because of the Great War and a lot of people that had suffered. And he says what he saw was the exploitive tendencies of people to take advantage of those that were missing, that were lost, that had a loss. The problem is it's similar to what's going on now in a greater sense, the fact that you've got people that are creating devices and based upon he says, this is what's funny, he goes, that goddamn son of a bitch Thomas Alva Edison with his fucking spirit box was the inception of it. Did you just hear that right there? We just had something.
I heard like a crack or a pop or something.
Right there. There's nothing there that got moved. You saw it, and it wasn't from there. We have confirmation that their presence is with us because they like what's being said. Because they said they don't like the mythology and the new and improved Frank's box, which is now the Ovulus, which is the spirit box. He said charlatans to the nth degree never quit and never cease trying to make profit on people's miseries and woes. And what the funniest thing is these people that are buying these pieces of equipment are looking for a shortcut. And he goes, it's the worst part about it is nobody, if you want to do something, you have to put in the time, the energy, and the sweat. It's not something that you get by just, here's my dollar, I want it now. He says it's kind of like Lindsay Lohan. I want to see a ghost. I want to see a spirit. It's like one. That's not how it works, folks. And the people that believe in these things and the white noise generators, the people that are buying them and are saying that these are actual communicative devices to the spirits are buying hog shit, to be blunt and honest. It's not. First of all, let's preface this by saying, if in fact it could be that these were actually generating vocalizations or, information from the spirits, because the vocalizations, as we know them, are through scanners of AM or FM frequencies or whatever that they're picking up. So they're picking up words. So what has always been told to me is the spirit's using it to pick words out of the audio transmission and using those words selectively as making a statement like Jeff or Bob, and it's like, or Jeff, and you can barely, it's like, oh, it sounds like it said Jeff. And they call those Class B EVPs. And I go, there's nothing Class anything about that, and it certainly is not electronic voice phenomena. And why is that? Because electronic voice phenomena, as it's always been known and I've understood it to be, is taking a tape recorder or recording device and capturing a spirit's voice. Therefore, the word EVP, electronic voice phenomena. It's not electronic transmission phenomena. It's not a scanner phenomena. It's electronic voice phenomena. The voice is the thing that they keep on pulling out of that when they give you the Frank's box, because it's nothing of an EVP. And people say, why do I say that? Because I've got in my house 16 HD, 3 megapixel, 1080p cameras throughout the entire house with microphones. We have inadvertently captured Class A EVPs throughout the, 4 years that I've had these cameras throughout the house. And in some cases, people have actually heard the voices and reacted to them, and we've checked on the closed-circuit television cameras, and you can actually hear the voices that they're hearing physically and they're interacting with. So to me, we've also had people do interviews on camera, and in the background on the camera, they've picked up EVPs that are literally, I don't want to say, there's some type of an intelligence to what they're saying, because they're directly correlated to what's being said by the interviewer. For example, James Oster was here during the Poltergeist DVD Blu-ray release party 2 years ago in September. And it was about 12:30 at night, and this is on my YouTube channel, by the way. And he was downstairs on the 3rd level. There was myself, James, his videographer, and a photographer friend of his, and that's it. So there's 4 men here. And Jim's down there talking, and he goes, I've been to David's house many times, and strange things have happened. And in the background, almost on cue, this little girl's voice goes, here's one. And I'm telling you, it's not like, oh, what did you think? It said, it's one. Then the other person says, oh, it sounds like here's one. And the other person says, he's one. No, it's as clear as a bell that everybody can listen to it, and it says, here's one. And it's right on top of what he has just said. So I said to James after he goes, I said, James, there's no little girl here. He goes, well, there's a little girl's voice on the recording, and I don't know who the hell it is. And as he's reviewing his footage from earlier in the evening, he was talking in the 3rd level guest bedroom about the event, and they pick up a little girl's giggle in the background, and she just goes like, and I'm like, oh my God. And that's what I mean. It's clear. It's not subject to, what did they say? I don't know. What did it? I don't know. I'm trying to figure that one out. And it's not through a Frank's box, and it's not through any type of a, how should I say, some adjunct device that a third party can basically say, or a skeptic can say, okay, what about this, as basically a way to shred your evidence, if you can call it that.
Russell, you're going to have fun listening to this. If you hear anything, make
Don't,
sure.
I have no doubt you might be hearing voices in the background saying, he's right. Damn right. And it's always a whisper. Here's the signature characteristic about the EVPs that I've heard in this house. Almost like they're on top of the microphone, always whispering, but it's very clear, and you can hear it, but it's like whispering, like, get out, or fuck you. I mean, there's an EVP downstairs that says, we're doing one of the investigations, says, shit. And I'm like, well, that's pretty good. Chris Fleming was here 4 years or 5 years ago during an investigation. And famously enough, I had my cameraman videotaping it, and Chris was doing the EVP session. And this is what I like to do when it comes to EVP sessions. I am one of those people that likes to do short and sweet EVP sessions, meaning I want somebody videotaping the session. so that there's an overview of what's going on in the room and everybody can see what's being taped and what's being recorded at the time. So it's not like, well, I can't see what's going on, so I don't know if somebody's in the room with you whispering in the microphone because I can just hear what I'm hearing, but I can't visually see the setup. So Chris was down in the laundry room, and I have the videographer shooting, and Chris is asking a question. And as I said, I like them short and sweet. What I mean is oh, shoot. Hold on one sec. They hung up. That's great. It's a ghost. Yeah, when he's got a dime to call on a telephone, I'll be surprised. So he's down there, and he's doing a session, and he asks the question, and he gives him about 30 seconds, to respond, and then stops and plays it right back. And why do I like that versus hours and hours of evidence being accumulated? Because insofar as the mental capacity of a human being's brain to focus on anything for a very long period of time, you have about a 5-minute retention span to really focus good and hard. After that, the drop-off is basically, it gets worse and worse and worse. After 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, you start to basically drop off your efficiency to really concentrate. So Chris asks the question and waits 30 seconds and plays back the response. And the response was hysterical. In my mind, it was hysterical. Because the spirit said, F you and die and get the hell out of the house. And this woman goes, oh my God, it's a demon. And I looked at her and I said, excuse me. I said, if it was me that said that, or if you heard somebody else saying that to Chris, a living person who said that to Chris, and you basically were eavesdropping, what would you say about the person that said that remark to Chris? And she said, oh, I think they were having a fight. And I said, so what's the difference if it's a spirit communicating with Chris or a human being? And she goes, I said, you're still eavesdropping. This conversation is between Chris and the spirit. You're an outside observer eavesdropping, and you're hearing a conversation. You don't know what the reference is. You don't know why why the antipathy is, why there's kind of like friction there, but there's obviously friction. So what's the difference? It's a living person or a dead person. It's the same thing. You're eavesdropping. And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, I never thought of it like that. And I said, well, maybe you should, because otherwise you're projecting your sense of this spirit having it out for Chris, and you don't even know that Chris has been here before, and the spirit has been here forever long I've been here, and I would assume that the spirit knows Chris and doesn't really care for Chris. And I think that your projection and assumption and, pushing this agenda onto the spirit, saying that it's a demon, is quite misplaced. And she says, you know something? I think you've got a point there. I didn't think about that. I said, yeah. I said, that's how I look at it as. As it turns out, let's just say the spirit was more on my side than it was Chris's side that night. And some incident that later on, which came to fruition, led me to understand exactly what the spirit's knowledge of the future events were going to be. And it was like, oh, that son of a gun spirit was on the money. I agree with him. He was looking out for my best interests. And I was kind of like thinking, it's like, isn't it interesting? They can see ahead and know what's going to happen and are basically calling them out on it. And that's how I felt and treated the whole moment. I thought later on saying, son of a gun, I was right on the money with what I said, that the spirit knew who Chris was. And what I said literally 5 hours before or 6 hours before the incident took place was on the money. And it led me to believe, it's like, you know something? They're not here to hurt you. They're not here to harm you. They're not here to scare you. They're here to let you know what's happening. And if you take advantage of that knowledge and that foreshadowing of what's going to happen, you can take it and make it take it to your advantage and utilize that. So I've never felt that the spirits were a hindrance or a problem or of any concern. I find it to be quite helpful and a non-issue as far as I'm concerned. I appreciate their looking out for me, so to speak, and have so far as I know, as long as I've lived here.
with the investigations that you've had, because you've talked a little bit about everything from construction on, and your willingness to like, hey, everybody has their space, and let's all be cool about it. When you started having people come in, what kind of feedback did you get? What were when you started having people come in and investigate? Like, what were their conclusions? Were they trying to steer you toward a different attitude toward your spirits?
Well, let's be honest here. The investigations I've been having here to the public have only been going on for 3 years now. They began literally a couple of weeks after the Ghost Adventures show, which was, I think, the 5th television series I had been on. Prior to, 2014, the only people that actually were coming in here, I have to say, Jason Hawes from Ghost Adventures was in 2007. Excuse me. Trying to think. I've had other people that have visited here through the years that were friends of mine that were psychics or sensitives and stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I've heard so many different theories about the paranormal, and I've been open and receptive, and I've listened. The thing that I've taken from them is a little bits and pieces from some of them, and then a lot of it I've literally thrown to the curb. Just because a lot of it is just, what's the old saying? When you have some experience to deal with, you have to think about it in simplest terms. Why? Because in reality, the simplest answers are usually the most accurate answers. And that when we go into a place in our mind, when we create for lack of better words, when we go Tolkien, so to speak, on things, we miss so much of the obvious, and we concoct things that are well beyond the actual realm of what's taking place, and a little bit of knowledge turns into a mountain full of shit. Like a boll weevil. It starts with a grain of sand, and it turns into a big giant thing of Bandini Mountain, so to speak. That's what I've noticed. I think that people are not willing and aren't happy with the honest truth about things, about the paranormal, which, I hate to say it, but you have to take away a lot of religiosity out of it. And I do. I strip it right down to the bone, because a lot of what we understand as human beings in the paranormal field is basically ripped out of religious texts. And I just don't find that applicable. I find it completely nonsensical, and it has its place in as far as human behavior is concerned, and the needs for a crutch. But in reality, anybody who's alive has no idea what the hell happens after you die. And I know that's going to piss off a lot of mediums and a lot of psychics and a lot of... There's somebody who's a rescue medium who wanted to come here and try to help me. It's like, you can't help me because there's no help that's being requested or needed. So please, thank you. Find somebody that's interested in that which you're offering, but I have really no interest in it because I don't buy it. And I never will, and I never could be convinced of it, because I've seen things that other people have said couldn't and shouldn't and this and that and religious doctrines and stuff, and applied it and blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. It's all dogma to me. It's just... how should I say it? I've gone around to places that were also haunted, which is about 99% of the places that exist are haunted. People just aren't sensitive. That's my cat, Tommy. People just aren't sensitive. Tommy, would you mind? People aren't sensitive to know that every place that somebody existed or lived, played, worked, hung out, loved, hated, whatever, is haunted. Because all the haunting is the residual energy of those that had previously been there and who no longer walk the earth in the physical form. That, again, I don't like to hypothesize about stuff because there's so little we actually know, and I like to keep it really cut, simple, and clean, and say there's certain things that I believe in, there's certain things I don't believe in. Dealing with the paranormal from what I've experienced here and what I've seen. And here's an example, and it goes back to that Ghost Adventures episode with Zach. Isn't it interesting that a man who claims to be a professional in the field, who's been doing this for a number of years, comes into my house, gets scared to death because a figurine topples over some 12 feet away from him in the darkness that he doesn't see. he doesn't hear, and only until his audio technician, Jay Wasley, in the truck, walkie-talkies messages him saying, hey, did you guys see that? Nick says, see what? The smoking man figurine toppled over, and he goes into a complete meltdown. Now, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't understand where the cause and effect is there, that you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, it happened 12 feet away from you, and you don't react until you're being told it happened. And it's not like somebody lopped off an arm and he's running around bleeding all over the place. It's nothing that traumatic, but to him it's a nervous breakdown moment. Now, what I mean by that is I've been here for 15 years. I've been in my office, the floor below it, and I've heard the figurine knock over. And this has been going on now for about 8 years. I've been in the room when it's knocked over. I've been in the kitchen when it's knocked over. I've been staring right at it when it's gotten knocked over in the daytime, in the nighttime. So what? It's like, my God, it's just their way of communicating. So for his reaction to be so blown out of the water and so over the top, it's like, man, have you ever had a real life experience with the paranormal before? Because it sure the hell doesn't seem like it, because by the reaction and the meltdown you're going through, and I'm laughing about it, but I don't connect that with being professional. It's like, and then he says, I hear 3 knocks. Oh my God, it's the devil. And I'm going, the sign of the devil? 3 knocks? What religious bullshit are you throwing in there now to give yourself that drama, that, excuse me, but I'm going to wear my leather jeans and my vocal cords are going to go up down a few octaves and I'm going to be my big boy voice. Let me have some grease for my hair while we're at it so I can grease it back and look really smart and I can act really authoritarian. I mean, there's a difference. I am the real deal only because I've had, Mikey, you've had your experiences here with the butcher block spinning off. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine, just for 1 millisecond? I know you're laughing, you son of a bitch. I know you're laughing, but let's do this. You know, what would happen if? Let's go with. All right, we know what happened with you because you experienced it. But let's go with, what if, now let's see, if Nick Groff was here, who was also on the team, he's actually come back to the house a year and a half ago in February to do a promo plug for his new TV show, Paranormal Lockdown. What do you think Nick would have done in that situation if he was where you were when that butcher block spun off the television set?
Be professional and not run away and try to figure out what exactly happened.
Okay. and you, sir, what do you think?
Well, I was standing outside the door, so I saw Mike's reaction. So you turned a little white.
Yeah.
But Mike turned around immediately and was like, I want to know.
Oh, yeah, no, he came back. I mean, the video is clear as a bell. He stumbled, he stopped, but again, the video is shot in pretty much total darkness, and that gosh darn infrared light, which people are watching the video thinking, oh, he can see. It's like, no, people, the reason why that's all in gray tones is because it's dark. And when Mike's in there, Mike doesn't see the gosh darn butcher block fly off like you all see on the camera, which is what the whole point was. And his reaction was he tried to open the door and he couldn't open the door because the butcher block. But he went out, and then like a minute later, Mike comes running on back with somebody else saying, he's talking about it, he's inspecting it. I mean, I can't imagine what Zach would have done had he had that happen. He would have, and this is the guy that, let's not forget, who had the experience that everybody claims was such a big to-do with the flying brick in the location he was. It flew right by him, and I go, flying brick my ass. Guy had a meltdown with a gosh darn figurine fell over 12 feet away, and he didn't see it, he didn't hear it. He gets told about it 10 seconds after it happens, and he goes to pieces. Had he been in with Mike, with that freaking butcher block, God knows what would have happened.
It'd be like a cartoon where they go through the door and you see a silhouette.
You mean literally, he doesn't go through there, he breaks the door, and the whole of the guy, you had the figurine of the figure of the outline of the guy's body as he's punched through the door, literally crashed. I mean, that's what I would have thought would have happened had he had that experience in the house. Oh. I mean, but it's kind of like, I just find it, I kind of find it humorous, and I laugh at it, and people say, what's your favorite paranormal reality show? And I say, none. And they go, why not? I said, because look, after being on 6 of them and watching all the shows before, and getting intrigued. The one thing I see is there's a lot of drama. It's a lot of reaction shots of the investigators. Mm-hmm. But for God's sake, I'd like to have the camera pointed on what the hell they're looking at, that they're reacting to, and not see their face go and make those stupid cartoonish looks and the expressions. And I want to say, I don't give a rat's ass about the guy's face. I want to see what he's reacting to. Why haven't we got a camera pointing there? Instead, we have these contraptions where they got an armature hanging over in front of their face, and the camera's on them. God forbid you should have a camera in front of them so that you can see what they're reacting to. But that's never the case, and that's what I find so disconcerting about all the paranormal shows. It's all the psychics and all the mediums. Oh, I feel this and I feel... That's great. I want to see somebody go in that doesn't know anything about the location. Bring him in completely cold. Mm-hmm. See, television won't do this, and I've done this before. And we did this here through, let's see, it was the 35th anniversary. So it was 13 years ago we did this. We brought in 7 psychics, 3 on one night and 4 on another. And I did it in a way that television couldn't handle. And by that I mean I brought in 3 psychics, right? I brought them in one at a time from all different locations. So when we started the night, we had 3 psychics, one in one location, one in another location, one in another location. And we brought the first one in. We didn't tell her where she was going. We had her blindfolded, walked her in the house, didn't say 2 bloody words, just said, roll. Give it slate, give us your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, and tell us exactly what you're feeling when you're walking through the house. Because I don't want you to know where you're going. I want you just to tell us what you're feeling organically. They walked through the house. We had the cameras on them. We had a thermal cam. We went downstairs, went through the entire house. We then interviewed the one person. We then we took her to back to the location she was at to be sequestered. Bring the next psychic in. Same thing. Back to her location. Bring the third one in. Back to her location. Brought them back at the end of the night. Decided to sit where we are right now at the table, and we asked them questions. Just like, so how did you like the night? Blah, blah, blah. And again, they still had no idea where they were, because I didn't want them to have the reveal until it was very, very much to the end. So we kept talking. Then I said, so group collect, and I got the 3 of you together. Let's get the group round table going. What did you guys think collectively? Da-da-da-da. Okay, it's time for the reveal. And it was like, oh my God, now it all understood. Then everything came into complete focus. When they were sitting there, one of them was saying, I felt sharp pains in my upper torso, like I'm being stabbed, and my arms are being hurt. And I feel the back, one of the guys said, goes, the back of my head feels like it's being caved in. And every single comment that they came up with at the reveal, compared to what they said before, because I had the notes, I said, well, this is what you said. Every single one of those things that they said before they knew plugged right in to where they were. Mm-hmm. You could never see that done on TV because they're too chicken shit. And they don't want to do something like that because it's kind of dull and boring. When in reality, it's fascinating and riveting and compelling. And like I said, if you edit it in such a way where you actually go back to what they're experiencing when they're walking through the house, so you get the snippet of her saying, because I felt these pains and these sharp stabbing pains in my upper chest, and I feel like I'm clutching my stomach, and oh my God, all of that would be a much more interesting show than any of the shows that have been out there and I've seen. And I've done these investigations, and I think that going in blind is a much better way to do it when you're talking about the paranormal investigations, and no one wants to. As far as the spirits are concerned, some people have said, oh, the spirits feel like they're being exploited. Give me a freaking break. If the spirits didn't like it, they would do one of 2 things. Leave and not be a party to the action, or B, if they really didn't like it, they'd start giving people atomic wedgies, and people would know immediately that the spirits were displeased, and they'd say, oh my, maybe I should get out of here. This isn't a comfortable feeling. But obviously, since the spirits are big enough and wise enough, and I give them enough credit for knowing enough about my intentions, and what I'm trying to do and help people understand, and sharing my experience and sharing my house with them to actually have an experience that's unlike what they've seen on television, yet it's real and it's not the BS they've seen on TV. I think that that's what I wanted to do, and I was enjoying interacting with people and having people learn about it. It wasn't, some kind of like, oh, I'm going to turn my house into Universal Studios of the paranormal world. No, I mean, I was doing a few of them a couple times every couple of months. And last year I did 3, and this year I've done 2, and that's it. So, I mean, I got tired of being berated by people saying, you're exploiting the spirits, they don't like this. And I go, who the hell are you? They're gosh darn guardian? What do you think? The spirits don't have a way of communicating in so many words? You know, they're pretty capable and competent at letting us know how they feel or don't feel. So I don't feel that it's been done in any type of a, how should you say, an exploitive manner or fashion. It's always been done with integrity and respect and honesty and with no bullshit, to be most important and honest about it. I don't like people that like to, as you say, play games with people to let them think that there's something that happened that didn't really happen, but I'm going to make them feel it did. It's like, don't bring that weak BS here to my house. We don't play that. We don't do that. And I don't really engage in that. I want the authentic, actual interaction to take place. What I'm saying is, if it doesn't take place, that's okay as well. Oh my God, my cat. Tommy, I can hear every word you're saying. I got it. You're hungry. That's all I'm trying to say is I don't like building up something that's not real. And because it's real, I don't have the sense of like, this is going to happen. Or, be careful. And like trying to make them all paranoid and fearful of what could happen. I say, go enjoy yourself. Have the time of your life. And if something happens, don't be afraid. Just embrace it and say, hey, I'm here. I'm not going to run away scared, because the truth is, you can run as far as you want. But there's an old saying, you can run, but you can't hide. And with the spirit, that's pretty much tantamount to the actual truth, because there's nowhere you can go that you're going to manage to escape a ghost. And if you think you can, you're on some mighty powerful pot there, kid. 'Cause I can't imagine what you're smoking that's giving you that thought.
So you open your house up for investigations sometimes. You sell tickets and people can come. And I mean, that's how we met, because Russell and I both came in 2015. And I think it's so great that you do that, because it gives amateurs like us who do it for fun, as a hobby, an opportunity to investigate a very high profile place. And like, first of all, thank you for doing that. But second of all, you're doing that again and in October, and it's going to be a 2-house one. And you just did a 2-house one a couple weeks ago. And how did that happen? And tell us the link of the house next door to the Tate murders.
Well, first, thank you very much for the wonderful comments there about the house. Honestly, part of it is I enjoy meeting people. I guess I was raised in a family where my mother used to, I don't want to say entertain, but my mother had a knack for meeting people in the most obscure, strangest of places. When she was renting an apartment out to somebody, she ended up becoming best friends with a woman. They were lifelong friends for my entire life. And I enjoy meeting people and sharing what I have. It's kind of like, it certainly is not for the money. People, you're making money. It's like, really? I said, everybody that works on my team gets paid, and the food costs money, and the cleaning team that cleans up before and after the events get paid. And it's not something that I do for making money. It's just to meet people and to share what I have with other people, to enjoy, to actually experience what it's like to be in a real haunted location, and have that opportunity. Because it goes back to when I was a kid. I used to go to my parents' friend's house, and it was the first time going to somebody's house, and I walk in, my mother, I'd say, excuse me, is your house haunted? And the people go, excuse me? And my mother would take me aside and say, David, what have I told you about asking people about if their house is haunted? Nobody believes in people having houses that are haunted, and for you to ask them is really obnoxious, and it makes me look like an idiot of a mother for you to be saying such things. So it's like, okay, fine. But I still said it till the day I died as a kid. And I wanted always to, excuse me, to experience that. And once I had that, I wanted to be able to share that with others. And you have to remember, before the Ghost Adventures show, I was having people coming in, literally walking up the driveway to go to Sharon's, gate to go look up, and I'd go outside and I'd start talking to people and say, oh, come on in. And I wasn't charging a dime because I didn't have the overhead of having to get all the food and to get the cleaning crew, and then to get the paranormal investigators up here, and to get the crew, and then to spend the $6,000 to buy all the cameras and the CCTV equipment, and all the monitors and all the stuff that we put through the house. So, I mean, I was doing it, just meeting people on the street in front of the house and stuff. And that was because of the Ghost Hunters show, right, in 2005. Thank you very much. Because people, it wasn't like it was money, but once I started doing it into that length and all the equipment, then it was like, all right, I'm going to do this fine. Well, let's do this right. But what we did 2 weeks ago, my next door neighbor decided that he is planning on selling his house. So he said, look, in the meantime, as I'm getting it ready and fixed up, I'm going to start renting it out possibly, because I don't like the idea of having a long-term lease. And I said, with people, and I said, okay. So he said, look, you mind if I rent it out? He goes, when? So we ended up getting August 4th and 5th, and we did the first two-house paranormal investigation.
And why are those dates important?
Oh, no, all right, because it's a Friday and Saturday night, smart ass. That's why. To stick a Kai patch and you're trying to hit me over the head with that one, are you? My guy. Jesus, no. It was also, the anniversary of the murders was August 8th, and I had also known that in the past years that a couple of days before the anniversary of the murder, the energy in this house gets crazy amplified. And I wanted to do something because people were asking me, you can do an investigation around the anniversary? And it's like, not on the anniversary, it's on a Tuesday night. I said, however, if you guys have enough people that are interested, I said, I'll put it together for an anniversary investigation on the Friday and Saturday night beforehand. So I talked to my neighbor, and I ended up renting his house, and crazy. We actually were able to have people spend the night. Because people, I want to spend the night at your house. I want to come over for overnight. I'm like, not at my house. My insurance will not cover that. But because he was doing it in such a, had the rooms set up, and it's like, you can have people stay over. It's like, oh, good, I will. So we had 8 people spend the night over there, and that house was strange. When we first went in there, the first couple of people that came in for the overnight got there at like 4 o'clock, and we went downstairs to the house. And it was like said it feels a little like, I don't know, icky, like just energy is just like, it was palpable. It wasn't overt, but it was definitely, you could feel it like on your skin. It's like, ooh, a tingliness, wow. Later on Friday night, on the 4th of August, when people were there doing the investigation, that house was like a Roman candle. It was so hot. There was so much intense energy in that house, and people were telling me, it feels so heavy. It feels oppressive in certain parts. I mean, Mike, you were there. You can tell me, please add any of your comments, because you were actually there, and I don't like that house at all. I was like, oh, I like this. It's nasty. It's not nice. It's dark. It's vicious. It's just blech.
Oh, I was doing EVPs with the crew from Bridge Paranormal. Shout out to Bridge Paranormal. And heard the most impressive EVP I've ever heard in my life. And it was in the second floor bedroom, and it was just like, what the hell just happened?
What did they say?
We were, I think it was Sydney was asking, who's here or something like that. And when we played it back, we did the short clips, like you were talking about earlier, and it sounded like the monster.
The monster, yeah. I want to hear that EVP. I've only heard other people say. I think it was Eric Van Liner and whatchamacallit. Oh God, I forgot his name off the bat. We're down there. Rob Hernandez was down there, and Rob heard. He goes, Dave, we got an EVP. We got an EVP. He goes, what does it say? He goes, the monster. And it's like, what? The monster? The monster? What the hell is that? I said, oh, come on. I'm dying to hear it, honestly. Well, I'm curious to hear it. I'm not dying to hear anything, but I'm curious to hear that EVP, because I've been told by 3 different people going, I haven't heard it, though. I want to hear it. You have it. Let's hear it.
Okay.
We're going to listen to this EVP for you guys as well. Hi. Hi, how many people are out there watching us? Okay. I'm very curious about that, the monster.
So it's really quick. Oh.
I don't hear the monster. I hear the mobster.
Oh.
The mobster. That's not monster. The mobster.
Okay.
Mobster. And I'm getting chills all over me. Like that's what it was. You're all hearing the monster. It's like no, the monster. No, the mobster.
Does that have a special meaning for next door?
I'd have to go look it up. Send me that EVP. I want to hear that some other time. I swear to God, that's just wild. It sounds like the mobster. Wow. So, and what's interesting about that house as well is 3 people came, literally walked out of that house and were sick, literally threw up. Jeff Mandel got sick when he got home. He left early. And then 2 other people literally came upstairs and went outside and threw up. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Never had that happen here the entire time of my house ever. I mean, we've had people throw up, but it certainly wasn't from ghosts. From spirits, yes. Not the kind that you get in the ethereal kind, but in a bottle, namely Jack Daniels, tequila, gin, vodka, and some other dumb things that people put into their bodies. But those are the spirits that made them vomit, not the spirits. But yeah, so as a result of the 2-house investigation, which was incredible, I mean, people were going in there and saying, the 2 houses are so energized. And goes, one's dark and one's light. And I was like, I said, do I have to guess which one is which? And they go, no, that house is dark. That house has got such dark, heavy energy. And I'm like, wow. And then the people were going into the earthen wall room in the house next door and complaining terribly about feeling like they were on motion and moving, and they were feeling back and forth, and somebody had to grab the beam to hold on for dear life, because when they let go of it, they fell over like they were rocking on a boat violently on the seas. I was like, ooh boy, that place is just intense. So on Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th of October, I'm going to do it again. We're going to do a 2-house ghost hunt here. We're going to go an extra hour. We're going to go from 8 in the evening to 3 in the morning, where last time was 8 in the evening to 2 in the morning. And we still have some tickets available for the VIPs that want to spend the night. And that's not just spending the night. We actually, I considered a full 24-hour package. You get here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, hang out for a couple of hours. At 5:30, we do a barbecue baby back rib dinner with chicken and all the fixings. We then roll into the investigation from 8 until 3. Then at about 3 o'clock, the VIPs can hang out and do some more investigating on their own, or they can go back to the house next door and crash. At 11 o'clock, we get everybody up and we do a full-on brunch. And I don't mean just cereal. I do with bagels and cream cheese and eggs, scrambled eggs, whatever you want, fresh eggs with bacon and sausage and God, what else we have? English muffins with jam and fresh orange juice, and what it was cranberry juice. And somebody said, "Do you want to do mimosas?" I said, "Yeah, if you want to have champagne and orange juice, I'll be happy to serve that to you guys for brunch." And then we go downstairs and we watch the House at the End of the Drive finished feature film in the theater room. And then they get a T-shirt, and they also get a signed poster and take pictures. And that's basically the 24 hours here at the house.
So for the people that did the VIP package, were they did they have experience in investigating, or were they more newer, just wanting to come to a place that they have an interest in?
Most of the VIPers were people that were doing they were a little familiar with the paranormal and the ghost hunting. But they wanted the opportunity to actually spend the night. They wanted to have that feeling of being able to say they spent the night on Cielo Drive private. And like I said, a lot of them had great experiences. I had nobody that was complaining about the food or the spirits or the location next door as far as the amenities were concerned. It's a sweet house, I'll tell you. It's got remodeled bedrooms and bathrooms. It's got balconies. So people, like I said, just love the chance to be up here for 24 hours and hang out and hang out with me and just, like I said, it was fun. To me, it was like summer camp for adults. For 3 straight days, from Friday at about 3 o'clock to Sunday at around 6 o'clock, because the Sunday crew was staying later. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm not doing anything. You guys want to hang out and just talk and shoot? She said, fine, be my guest. Nothing going. So to me, it's put it this way, you'd be bored out of your ass if you were hanging out with Zach Baggins for 24 hours. You'd be like, what the hell was I thinking? Guy's got his stick up his ass so far. He's not real. He's just a fako. Where me, it's like we're hanging out and stuff, and the dogs and the cats are ringing up. Oh, I love your cats. Love you. It's an experience. I can't explain what it's like. I mean, yeah, as my mother would say, David, with you, what you see is what you get. I don't put on any airs about being somebody I'm not. I'm pretty much who I am, and I think that's the genuine personality and person that I am, comes across as like, yeah, what you see is what you get. And when you come out here to hang out for 24 hours, you're going to have a fun time. And I'm telling you, you have an experience. It's hard to explain. It's like, well, I mean, I can explain it to you because you were, think about it, Mikey. You were here 2 years ago for a ghost investigation. You've been back to birthday parties, to other parties and stuff, to other events. And it's like, and all because of a gosh darn 10-pound piece of butcher block spun off a television set.
You should explain what happened.
Oh, okay.
For people who listen to the podcast, they may not know what the story is.
So I was here for an investigation, and I went into the 3rd level. The earthen wall room is what it's called. And I was about to do some EVPs, and I was going to close the door because there were some people, I think they were starting to do a seance in the other room right next to it. And as I was closing the door, I just heard a boom, like this loud crash. I freaked out, ran out the door, but I couldn't open the door because what ended up happening was there was a butcher block on the TV that twirled off, spun off.
It rotated. It didn't slide one direction. It spun. I mean, you didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
After we looked at the video, I'm like, the fuck? That thing, it spun. It literally rotated, and I grabbed a hold of the butcher block, and I picked it up, and I'm going, this isn't balsa wood. This is 1-inch solid, hard oak that is actually butcher block. Literally, it's a piece of butcher block that's about 20 inches long by about 12 inches wide by 1 inch thick. It's 10 solid pounds.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, I don't know if you.
That's fun.
That's
okay.
an understatement. So I don't know if you remember this, David, but like he walked out the door, and I was like in the room where they were about to start the seance, and he had such an odd expression, and I'd heard the crash, and what I thought was, I looked at you and I think I said, "Are you okay? Did you fall or something?"
Yeah. That's what you said. It's on video when you come back in with him.
It was like, what? And then we went back in, and that's when we realized what it was. But like, your expression was priceless, man. Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I thought you'd hurt yourself. I really thought you'd hurt yourself.
That needs to be a MasterCard. Dealing with a spirit, priceless.
But going back to what you were saying about, you were being a nice guy. I'm not gonna, go there, but no, I'm just kidding. But what I'm gonna say,
I'll fart on that.
But for the investigations that you host, like Russell and I can both attest that we felt nothing but welcome, and you made it like, even for people that, like, this was our first big thing that we've ever done because we don't have TV shows, so we can't do like all the cool places, so it was rad to be here, and you made us feel so welcome. The other investigators that were here like made us feel welcome. Like, people shared equipment. It's like it really is an amazing vibe. So if you're listening to this and you want to do this, don't have any worries and just do it because it's awesome.
And another fascinating thing for me from that night was the fact that you and I had very different experiences and very different feelings. Mm-hmm. I was reacting to stuff that you were like, at one point I think, are you like, really, seriously? Because there were 2 rooms where every time I walked in I got nauseous and a massive headache within about 2 minutes, and that you would walk into those rooms and you didn't feel anything, apparently.
Right.
So the fact that everyone that night was talking about their experiences, and like I deliberately kept going back to that room, like, okay, is this really, really seriously happening to me? And every time it did. So, and then I just found that utterly fascinating, and it was my first opportunity to be in an environment like this. So it was a fascinating, eye-opening evening, and Mike is right. It felt like a weird little community, and I mean that in the absolute best possible sense of, I think everyone was there for probably different reasons, but totally came together to support one another, and like, why are you here? Let's go investigate. Let's go find the interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was a good night.
And I have to admit, that's something that I don't stress and I don't demand, but in my infinite wisdom, the spirits just said, "Screw you." That's not a humble comment from me. What I'm saying to you is but in a sense, there's some truth to what they're saying and communicating, is the sense that I hate and I revile cliques. I've always been somebody that never, as something that Will Rogers said close to 100 years ago, I wouldn't be a member of any group that would have me as a member. And what that means is it's not being snobby, it's the antithesis of being anti-snobby. I like for people to be equal. I don't like somebody saying, "Well, I'm better than you because I've got experience." Like, go fuck yourself with that. You don't have anything better than the person next to you that has experiences in a different sense of experiences. Just because you're a vested paranormal investigator does not diminish the experiences of the individual who is not a vested paranormal investigator. Meaning, their experiences are as valid as your experiences in that realm. That doesn't make them less valid as a person, because in reality, everybody's experiences that you bring in to this environment are all going to be different no matter what. So the first thing that I like to do is just say, everybody, take your big boy pants off, and you're now going to be children. In the sense that nobody's going to be saying, "I'm better than you, and you're better than me," I'm better than you, or you're better than me, and I'm smart, and I say, no, I don't want that. You guys have got to start with this, and I set the tone the second, and you guys have seen, from the experiences, when people come in, I say, all right, let's start with this. I'm going to curse a blue streak just to break down all the barriers and to let everybody know that you're not just coming into a location that's a paranormal investigation. You're coming into my house. And therefore, you're going to take your gosh darn shoes and socks off, and you're going to run around in the sand and going to play around like kids. You're not going to have cares. You're not going to have your predisposed sense of self here. You're going to be a person that's here to enjoy yourself. And you're all going to be equal. And everybody's going to learn to be able to get along. And because the team that I have between Phil, Lilia, Steve, and Alma, and Larry, and some of the other people, I make sure that they are humble in a sense, and they're honest, and there's a sense of camaraderie, and that we're all here to have fun, first and foremost. I know most paranormal investigators would say, "You're not here to have fun." It's like, the hell you are. You're in my house. And the spirits are going to take you with your gosh darn extra starch in your collars and your extra starch in your pants and your gosh darn jock straps wrapped around your gosh darn nuts so tight that you're going up 3 octaves and talking. I want you to be chill. I want you guys to be very, very, very much at home. And what I mean is when you come into my house, there's not this stuffiness. There's not this kind of air of, "You're in David's house. It's a museum. Don't touch anything, and make sure that you walk gently upon the floor." I don't care if you hump and stomp. I want you to be feeling comfortable, like you're in your own home, with respect and integrity and a sense of feeling like you don't have to worry about somebody looking at you strange, like, "Oh my God, they're looking at me because I'm wearing different pants than they are." I want it to be so chill and so relaxed an environment that people aren't going to feel like, "I can't ask any questions, I'm afraid." It's like, no. If you have a question, I say off the beginning, ask it. There are no dumb questions. There's just dumb people that are afraid to ask questions. Because if you don't ask, you can't find out an answer of things you don't know. And in this environment, I want you to understand, you got the freedom to be and express yourself. No one's going to chastise you. No one's going to slap you on the wrist and say, "Stupid, wrong, bad, wrong, no, don't." That's not the way for people to experience anything, to learn and do it. Have an environment where people are conducive, or it's conducive for people to get to know people. I've had so many people come out of these investigations telling me how many people they've met, and through the years they say, I'm still friends with this person, I still hang out with them, and I met them at your house, and I thank you for that. And I go, I gain a sense of appreciation by that others have that experience and can take that on for those memories for the rest of their life. That's what it is. That's what it's about. It's not about how much money you have or what this or who's smarter. It's about just being able to appreciate somebody else that's different than you in an environment that's somewhere that you've never been, and that all of your preconceived notions of what you're going to experience here basically get thrown into the fireplace and heap of the logs and burnt into smithereens, because whatever you think you're going to get when you come here, it's not what you're going to say when you leave here. After you've been here, you're going to say something totally different than what you're predisposed to think you're going to experience. And that's what I kind of like to do, is to bring people in and to make it, in a sense, a type of a social environment where the spirits feel comfortable, where the people feel really comfortable, and stuff can happen.
And it does.
Well, it's like people said to me, goes, you think that the spirits are upset. It's like, no, they kind of actually enjoy the interaction with people. I mean, that's what people don't understand. There's these preconceived notions that spirits are upset. You're having parties. You're explaining. It's like, really? Is that what you think? Is that a projection of your limited experience in life and how to socialize and interact with people, maybe? Because what I've seen is the spirits like it when people are here. Even during my birthday party last year, my friend Chris and Christina, his wife, went down to the third level with Tim Rose and Shannon to do a little EVP session. And the spirit took umbrage with that. After 20 minutes, he basically said, hello, what are you doing in my bedroom? And we heard it on their tape recorder and also their digital recorder and on the closed-circuit cameras. And at first I thought the spirit was being a pig and being a bastard, and like saying, you shouldn't be in my bedroom. What are you doing in here? How dare you? And then I took it another step further and I said, wait a second. Maybe the spirit was saying, what are you doing in my bedroom? And why the hell are you in here? And why are you not upstairs at David's birthday? He's having a birthday party with other people. There's 30 people upstairs. And you four decided to abscond the party to come downstairs and do an EVP session. Well, the spirits weren't pleased with that, is what I personally believe took place. And that's what that meant. So it goes to show you, people's interpretations are projections more than they're the actual experience that's going on and the incident that's really taking place.
So you're doing another two-house investigation on October 13th and 14th, and where can people find tickets for that?
Well, if people want to come and join us for this 7-hour ghost investigation, they can go to www.theoman, and that's spelled O-M-A-N, house.com. And tickets for the 7-hour ghost hunt are $105, and that includes food and drink. And I don't mean cheese and crackers. I don't mean little craft self-serves with a little plastic spoon, knife, and some salted crackers and a little thing of American cheese spread. No, I mean full food. I mean, we have meatballs, we have mini tacos, we have 3 types of salsas, we have guacamole, we have hummus and pita bread. We have baby carrots and celery sticks. We have 3 different types of big cookies, all from Costco, of course. We have water. We have orange juice. We have cranberry juice. I don't believe that if people are going to go investigating at my home, as my mother taught me as a child, when you have company over, you put out a spread of food so that makes them feel welcome and that they're in a home, in an environment that they feel very, very at home and at ease with. And you let them know that they're special to you. And I've always done that every single time when I have guests and company come over. And then you're looking at me like, where the hell's the spread here? I don't see a goddamn thing. I see an empty table with some gosh darn combs and some other shit. Well, I didn't. I'm so sorry that I didn't exactly put out the spread for you guys tonight. But after we're done, we'll munch. I promise. I've got some stuff.
Well, you've been cleaning, so you were doing stuff all day.
Yeah, I know. But I just thought, it's like, gee, Sharon just said, he goes, you you son of a bitch, you idiot. You just told me you had a whole spread every time company goes. What are you trying to make them look like? Chopped liver? Oh, I'm sorry. That was my mother. Sorry, Mom. I knew it was Sharon says chopped liver because that's not Sharon. That's her mother. You stupid son of a bitch. How dare you do that, you know? Where's the food? Where's the spread? What are you doing? You have company. What are you thinking, you stupid kid? I taught you better than this. Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah. Yes, definitely heard that.
I think was it one of your figures?
Was that one of the figurines?
I don't know. Let me go double check and take a quick gander.
We'll be right back.
I was going to say, Mom, really? Okay, it is. Huh. That's interesting, though. The figurines have not been knocked over the whole time you've been here.
Yeah, because we both came over and looked at the beginning.
Right. Very interesting. But the fact that it made the sound, it was like, so it was my mom. It was Mom, thank God. You really want confirmation it's me? I have to give you a tug on your earlobe, do I?
Hi, Mrs. Oman.
Hey, Ma, sorry, Ma, I know, you taught me better. Ma's like, I told you, where's the food? Why didn't you got food? You gotta put out some food for the guests, my God.
So it was not the figurine being knocked
It
over.
wasn't the figurine, but there was somebody, like I said, we've had a few moments where they've literally knocked something or tapped something or hit
That
something.
almost sounded to me like a finger snap or something almost.
It was like it sounded like a knuckle
a
on
knuckle
wood.
snap.
Yeah.
It was definitely something present. That was definitely in the den.
Yeah.
That was definitely coming from the den. That was a trip.
Let me
What?
know if this sounds like it.
Oh, Mike's trying to recreate the sound.
Okay, go for it. No.
It was higher pitched than that.
You know, if you want to write down the time, it's 10:08. We will say it is. We can go down to the office and we can take a look at the closed circuit camera.
Oh.
I was going to, son of a bitch. When we had that sound that we heard over here, if we had the time code, we could look at it because they've got the camera there, camera there. We have 3 cameras that are all right in proximity to where we are right now. Spirits, thank you. I so appreciate it.
Oh.
You can knock a figurine over if you like, you know.
No.
They'd appreciate it too, you know.
And you can speak into the microphones if you like.
That was a computer.
That's a computer.
That was a good time.
That's somebody on Facebook Live chiming in. By the way, how many people are out there watching this? Let's see. Oh, we're down to 7.
Well-
boy, I bored the crap out of you. 30 to 7. Well, you 7 are stalwart.
We've been going a while. No. Something about the experience that you were describing of people, the two house experience. You're wearing a T-shirt for House at the End of the Drive.
Yes, I'm wearing one of my older T-shirts. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh God, my Odyssey. Let's say this is the Oman Odyssey. Is the House at the End of the Drive? Yeah, it's a motion picture I made. I was inspired to make by by one Sharon Tate. Her spirit came through and gave me a vignette about 13 years ago of a guy driving up the driveway, and that apparently was me, in a convertible 66 Mustang. And I remember in the vignette, I turn to my left and I look and I see this drop-dead blonde-haired girl dressed in 1960s attire walking up the driveway. And I remember this vignette was probably about a 10-second vignette. I remember seeing myself in the car and I turned and I said, oh my God, she's smoking hot. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, oh, wait, I regain my focus on the street, and I notice I'm about to go down the slope. I turn the steering wheel to the right to avoid going down the slope, and I regain my my bearing, and then the camera cuts to the side of my face, and as it drifts across the front of my face towards the rearview mirror, it cuts to the rearview mirror, and there's nothing there. And I was like, what the hell was that? And I was like, what? That's like a mini movie. What was that? And I remember hearing a voice say, write it down. It's like, write what down? That little scene? What the hell? And I was like, do it. So I wrote it down. And this went on for about 3 months. And I think I ended up with about 50 different scenes, little mini vignettes, little mini movies in my mind. And I'd written them all down. And when I was, after I'd written the 50 of them down, I realized that I had a whole set of scenes. But they weren't in any kind of an order. It was any type of organized fashion. They were just rambling mini little vignettes. And I got a friend of mine who's a writer, and I said, Jim, I said, you got to come over here. And, well, I'll come over there if you make me dinner. My friend Jim Vine. So it's like, God, anything for free? No. It's got to give me something to get over there, incentive. So I make Jim dinner, and we're talking, and I show him the vignettes. And he said, you know what you've got here? And I'm like, what? And he goes, you have scenes, you've brainstormed scenes that need to be taken out and basically arranged. And it's like, what? He goes, here. So he takes the scissors and he literally takes the paragraphs and cuts the paragraphs up. And it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. I'll never forget. And he goes, what you need to do is we need to put these scenes in some semblance of order, and then we'll make connecting scenes that are transition scenes that go from one scene to the other. I'm like going, I don't understand what the hell you're saying. He goes, this is the process of writing. And it's like, I'm not a writer. He goes, well, I am. I'm a screenwriter. All right, he's a screenwriter. So we spent the next couple of months, and I spent the next couple of months making dinner for Jim and paying him a few bucks to basically help me turn these little scenes into a feature film, which is turned into the script for House at the End of the Drive. And made it into a motion picture, and I spent the last number of years re-editing, reshooting, overhauling, reassembling the motion picture. We had Alan Howarth of John Carpenter fame get involved and redo the score. And I've decided that Hollywood won't take me seriously until I make a name for myself in some way, shape, or form. So I basically have decided to table the film and put it on the back burner and go about this in a different way. And the way I'm going about it is I'm writing a book about my experiences here in the house. The title has not been decided yet, but I wanted to document the whole story of my experiences here in the house from beginning to now. Close to saying beginning to middle end, but it's not ended, so it's certainly not there. And write it in 2 volumes, going from 1998 to 2008 and 2009 to 2017. And that way, if that takes hold and people are intrigued by the book, I would think that that'll hopefully open up some venues for the movie to get where I want it to be, which is in the movie theater.
Well, it's wonderful that this experience is finding its way into your life in a creative form, too. So it's affecting everything.
Oh, yes. You can say that again. One of my ex-girlfriends couldn't stand it in this house. Like, between you and the ghost, I got to get out. I can't stand it. It's like a prison. It's like a prison. I can't stand it. Boom. So, I mean, and I've lost a few dates when the spirits have chimed in, and then I thought about it. It's like, maybe they know something I don't, and the fact that they're having them leave might not be such a bad thing, that if in fact they can see a few steps ahead of me, they might have a better insight into who they are and what I'm not to be dealing with down the road. So maybe in effect it's kind of been a good filtration system, let us say, for some people that I don't need to have in my life. So that's also a nice way to put it.
Well, I always have believed that I don't trust anybody that animals don't trust. Maybe you have the same thing going on with the spirits.
Well, I do have 4 cats and 2 dogs, so they're the first line of defense. But there's nothing like a second line of defense called spirit eyes, since they can see far well beyond what a dog's comprehension can, and they certainly seem to be looking out for me. So I almost want to say I have a symbiotic relationship with the spirits, where I look out for their best interests for the most part, and they look out for mine. So contrary to what people are like, don't you get free? I was like, no, I live here quite happily and contently, and I quite honestly have no problems with it. As I've said before, you have far more to fear from the living than you do the dead.
So as of now, the only way to see the film is to do the VIP tour, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Very funny. Very funny. I appreciate that. Well, obviously, Mike, I'll make obviously concessions to you, Russell. If you
That's
guys
not what I was
do.
getting at.
But I'm saying yes.
I would love to see it.
If people would like to see the movie right now, the only way to see it would be on the 13th and the 14th, and to get yourself a VIP package ticket for that event. Yes, that's one way you can see it.
While drinking mimosas, apparently.
Well, yes, exactly. That's right. On Sunday, you bet your ass. On Sunday, I will definitely be making mimosas because I'll be breathing a sigh of relief that the weekend went off without a hitch, and it was a pleasant, celebration of the weekend to be able to pull that off.
All right, so you've been here for years, and you've been interacting with the spirits for years.
Time out.
Yes.
Did you guys just hear something funny?
I thought that was one of your I thought it was a cat.
Unless it was me. Wait.
No, it came from over here.
Yeah, that sound didn't sound like a cat. It sounded like something was being almost like, I want to say it sounded like something was on the glass. I don't know. It was an acoustic signature I didn't recognize. I definitely heard something there.
No,
write that down, 1018, because I'll look it up on the camera. Wow, that was weird.
No, I actually thought because I heard it over my left shoulder. I thought it was one of the cats.
I heard something. It sounded like I want to say metal or some type of a. It didn't say. It sounded. It's something I'd never heard before, but I know definitely wasn't a cat. That sounded like something else. But I've got dog ears. What can I say? I hear the stupidest things. I can hear a Porsche engine go 928, 914, 930. 944, there's old Porsche engines in cars, that's all. Before your time. So.
Where I was going with that was, is there one encounter that stands above all others, or is there one encounter that you that clarified something or explained something or any of those things that... I guess what is your most memorable encounter, if you have one, because it sounds like you've had so many?
I've had a lot of memorable encounters. I hate to say it. I want to say that they're all different. I want to say they're all different classifications of encounters, such as, all right, I've had, for instance, I've only seen one apparition in my entire life, and that was Jay Sebring 13 years ago. So that's one type of interaction. Seeing an actual an apparition.
Just to clarify, he was
Sharon's ex-fiance.
He was the hairdresser,
also the hairstylist
Yeah.
to the stars. Yes, and to be honest with you, men of this day and age owe Jay Sebring a debt of gratitude in the sense that before Jay, you would be able to go to your neighborhood barber, which was a guy that had a flagpole in front of his store that was red and blue and white. And he basically had a style that was pretty much from the 1930s, and he basically kept on shooting and cutting that same style over and over again. Jay was instrumental in the fact that he had seen as being a hairstylist for men in the movies and television, in the entertainment business. He started saying men need to be taken care of as much as women do when it comes to taking care of their hair and managing their appearance and whatnot. And he was the one that actually became the one that made men's hairstyling something of a thing, I guess you could say. Instead of just taking a bowl and putting it over a guy's head and cutting around it, he designed different types of styles and techniques. He also actually created products for men to use, such as hair relaxant. That was most men that have curly or coarse hair, which Jay was one of them, had kind of a coarse type of a hair. In the 60s, it was predominantly, how should you say, the look was straight hair. So Jay just went out and made himself a product that was a hair relaxant that you could put in your hair that would give you straight hair, even if you had coarse type of hair or kinky hair. So yes, Jay was the apparition that I saw 13 years ago. And I mean, there are other incidences that I've had, such as when an object ports from one room to another. I had a famous incident where I had a 35 millimeter roll of film that I'd taken out of the camera from some investigation I'd done, and I put it over on top of my bar countertop. Came back upstairs a couple of hours later to rush it down to Thrifty to have it processed, and it's gone. And I'm like, wait, where the flying? I know it was up here, and at the time I didn't have cameras in the house, so I couldn't go and review the cameras to see, but it was almost like I know I've left it there, and I know I put it there because I just took it out of the camera. The camera's still sitting there, so I wasn't going to take it anywhere else, because literally a couple of hours later I was planning on taking it down to Rite Aid to be processed. 4 days goes by. I can't find the camera. I can't find the film, and I'm dismissed it. And I said, all right, whatever. I must have misplaced it. I go downstairs to my bedroom and into the bathroom, and in the bathroom, on top of a bottle of wine, an empty bottle of wine, is said roll of film. Now, I've been in my bathroom for the past 4 days and 4 nights, and I have walked right by that vanity, and I've walked right by that gosh darn that empty bottle of wine that was sitting there on the vanity. There was no way in hell that said, roll of film was on there for the past 4 days. And I didn't have any housekeeper come here during those 4 days, so I know there was no one in the house that could have done that. That's an example of something that was strange and of something, and a category of something apporting. Then for instance, there's the EVP session. What's one of my craziest EVPs where I've actually heard a spirit speaking? Had a girlfriend whose ex-husband was a lunatic who was chasing her and stalking her and stuff. And we had an incident where he was calling up the house and doing prank calls. Later that night, when we went to bed, I kept hearing the spirits overtly say, "Get her out, get her out, get her out, get her out." The following day, I said, I said, "This isn't going to work. I think you're going to have to move out." And she moved out. But it was clear as a bell that I heard the voices saying that. I've had an experience here at this dining room table where I had 5 people here for dinner, and a glass of wine slid across the dining room table on its own in front of all of us. And the wine was literally hitting one side of the glass to the other without going over the edge. I've had incidents where the faucets in the bathroom have turned on by themselves right in front of my eyes.
Wow.
That's like that. Yeah, like I said, there's all different categories of experiences and things that have occurred here. So it's kind of like, say, okay, like seeing an apparition or seeing an object move or seeing the figurines do their thing. Another incident would be right over at the bar where I have my poster that's signed by all the actors from the film. During one investigation 3 years ago, I was about 3 feet from the painting hanging on the wall, talking to people in front of the bar, and we were explaining the whole thing about the paranormals at the beginning of the evening, and I heard a voice say, "To your left." So I turned to my left, and right as I did, I literally witnessed that glass-framed poster, literally lift off the wall and slowly lurch forward and then start to come down towards the ground, all in slow motion. I turned to my left as it continued turning to my left and literally grabbed it 3 inches. Did you just hear something? You did. I know you did because I can see it on the expression in your face. You reacted. And Russell, you got the same expression. You just heard that.
Yeah.
And what I heard was like a voice going, Time, 10:26, write it down. We're going to review that on the goddamn cameras because I heard that right over here. And that my laptop doesn't have audio except what you're hearing. So I turned to my left and I grabbed it and literally caught it 3 inches from hitting the ground. And the 7 people in front of the bar all said, and we had recorded their statements afterwards, what happened. They said it moved in slow motion. It literally fell in slow motion. One person said, I saw it peel off the wall slowly and then come down. Not just drop quickly, but slowly. And I grabbed it literally 3 inches from hitting the ground, and people were like, oh my God. I said, if I didn't, that glass, 2 foot by 3 foot pane of glass would have shattered and probably hit at least 4 of the people that were in front of the bar because it was just so close. That's another crazy experience. And of course, Mike's experience with the butcher block, which I wasn't actually involved in, but I witnessed the video footage. Countless experiences we've had here. I can't even explain, like I said, it's all different categories and all different types of experiences, those that have been told to me. What's it saying? Your battery's running low. All right, look, folks, I know you're out there watching. I'm going to turn this off and cut it out. So, see you later. Enjoy the video. Thank you very much. I'm out. Well, that was fun. So, I mean, like I said, the things that have happened here that I've personally experienced, fall into several different categories. And then the experiences that others have related to me are in their own sense, categories. I was going to say, but overall, here's one thing I'll have to say. Nothing that has ever left me shaking in my boots, that has still left me scared to tears and terrified in any way, shape, or form. They've all been experiences that I've been able to say, that's an interesting experience. I don't know how to explain it. I can't comprehend.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Even the apparition appearing? I'm trying to imagine my own reaction to that. I think I would be really rattled by that.
No, honestly, I forgot to mention my mom was dying of pancreatic cancer at the time, and it was mid-July, and she passed away 8 months later in February. That was March 22nd. My girlfriend at the time was a flight attendant flying through Europe. So when the apparition appeared, I literally sat up in my bed and said, "Okay, what's going on? Are you here to tell me my mom's died?" And what's funny is he had his left arm extended, his index finger pointing outward, and he was doing a quarter turn. And at the time, I remember saying, he's pointing towards the driveway. He's pointing towards the driveway, down the driveway. Later on, 7 years later, after the apparition appeared, they started construction on the property next door to me. Excuse me, the house next door to me. And then I realized what he was pointing to was the location of this new house that was being, constructed there, in a most unethical type of a building. How would you say it? Building form. What they decided to do was, instead of taking advantage of the slope of the hillside and building their house on the slope, they decided to go extreme. And what I mean extreme is they put 35 caissons at the edge of the street, and then dug straight down 60 feet to the slope, and then literally eviscerated and removed the entire slope. So they took out about, I forgot how many, 80 feet down the drive, going from my house, going down the driveway, 60 feet down the actual mountain, and cutting out a whole slice of mountain. So you took out a triangular piece of mountain all the way down 60 feet and basically made a flat pad of land and put in another 40 caissons. I think the property's got like 75 caissons total.
Wow.
And built the first 2 floors of the house out of concrete. Solid concrete with reinforced rebar. So, I mean, it's crazy, like I said. And what's interesting is that place I've seen activity in front of it in the middle of the day when the workers were there. The 3-gallon igloo water jug spilled, and as you say, it fell up the driveway. And I mean, it was on the slope, and it literally tilted up the driveway and fell over in front of the laborers. And they told me about this, and I was like, what? And they showed me where they were, and I was like, that's impossible. He goes, yeah, that's what they thought. They didn't understand how the bucket turned and hit up the street and fell over. Yeah. So, it's hard to say what nothing, like I said, it doesn't really bother me just because my attitude is such that, okay, if you want to say something to me, fine, communicate with me. If it's dramatic, then it's dramatic. If that's what you're trying to do, I don't, I guess I don't just jump, out of my skin because there's a spirit in front of me trying to talk to me. I just go, okay, talk to me. What do you got to say? I'm all ears. I'm very empathic about what they are trying to communicate, because there's no point in getting all bent out of shape because they're appearing in front of you. There's a purpose for their communication. So to treat it otherwise is kind of poor poor etiquette is what I was going to say. It's like, what do you mean? I can't understand it. Well, you don't understand French. Well, but I'm still speaking with my hands gestures. Can you understand that? It's like, oh, well, I'll focus on that. I don't know. I don't say that I'm desensitized. I'm just, I'm afraid for things that are worth being afraid of, is what I'm saying to you. So far, I've yet to hear of somebody dying from seeing a ghost outside of a self-imposed heart attack. I mean, I don't. It doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't faze me. I guess you could say it doesn't. Stuff in movies phases me, but it phases me for the moment. It's like, okay, that scared me. Great, next. It doesn't linger. It's not like a skunk's fragrance going. Yeah, still can smell that crap. Ah, god damn, son, it's still bugging the crap out of me. I just don't play that, I guess. I don't know. I know that a lot of people want me to. And that might be the case, and you can get Zach to jump through a hoop of fire, and as far as I'm concerned, a hoop of shit, and he'll do it. I don't play that way. I don't know. I just it doesn't serve me. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't. It doesn't affect me like that. It's almost like there's more important things to be scared of than that. It's not. I don't know. It just. I mean, and it's not like I wasn't always this way. I was a kid. I was terrified of the dark. I was afraid of ghosts and goblins and Frankenstein's monster and mummies and vampires. The whole freaking 9 yards. And I'd have to say that when my mom passed away March 22nd, 2005, and I drove on up to the house at 7:10, 20 minutes after she had died, and the whole house was blacked out, and the place was illuminated with candles, and I said, what the hell's going on here? I said, we're not religious. Why the candles? He goes, no. My dad says, literally seconds after your mother died, all the electricity went out in the house. Later, I come to find that it wasn't the house, it wasn't the neighborhood, it was the entire city of West Los Angeles. The electricity went completely out for a number of hours. So when I came in there and I saw my mom still sitting in the bed where she had been, where in the bedroom that I had grown up, in the house that I'd grown up in as a child, and there she was sitting there stone cold dead. All of my fears and rationals, I just heard something over my... Yeah, they're here. That's my mom. Thanks, Ma. All my fears about death and about ghosts and about zombies basically went out the window in a heartbeat. I looked and I saw my mother's remains there on the bed, frozen. And I'll never forget it. She was like in motion and just frozen, like just it's hard to explain. If you've never seen it and you've never experienced it, I can't give you insight into what I went through. It just was pretty astounding. And I mean, I've had my pets that have died and they've put them down and whatnot. And that was something, it's like I said, it was just so personal because it was my mother. It was the woman that raised me, that bore me, that brought me into this world. And I just sat there and I looked at her and I said, damn, everything she had ever said about it was true. Which was, in essence, this: when you're dead, you're dead. You're not coming back and blah, blah, blah. Fine. But to look at her corpse and to just see her frozen in that moment and to touch her and to feel... I hate to say this, but it felt like concrete. It was cold. It was solid. It was not... There was no... how should I say this? There was no give. There was no... The muscles, there was no pliability. It was almost... I hate to say this, and people are going to kill me for saying this. It was almost like touching a woman with fake boobs. It was solid. It was hard. There was no give to the touch. The skin wasn't pliable. It was like just solid, like cold. And I just said, so that's not my sister then came and she goes, that's not my mom. She came out and goes, that's not my mom. My mom is gone, she said. I finally, I connected with those terms and those words saying, yeah, she's gone. The body is there, but the spirit, the energy, the life force, as it's been called, was gone. It was just removed. It was just so abrupt and so surreal. And my mom used to say to me, all that stuff is make-believe. All the stuff you see in the movies about zombies and vampires and ghouls and blah, blah, it's all make-believe. It's all bullshit. Because in reality, this is it. And it's like everything she ever said about it, it's just like, wow. This is the reality of it. Everything else, the religiosity bullshit, Just good night. Goodbye, Charlie. It's very personal. And I just said, you know something? Everything I know about ghosts and living with them, it's just came clear, saying, you know something? Reality is it's all bullshit you see on TV and movies. The reality is it is what it is. Death is that impermeable veil that we will never cross as a human being, only once and only once. And as I remember from reading as a kid, Greek mythology about Hades and the river Styx, that once you cross the river Styx, you cannot ever come back. And that's everything changed in my whole perception about the paranormal, and all the myths just evaporated. Just it's like an iceberg hitting the sun. It vanished and vaporized within a millisecond. It was all gone. And ever since then, I've looked at the paranormal with total different abject respect and understanding, and translated it into my life, and said, you know something, you go through this life once, one shot and one shot only. Better learn to ride the highs and lows, because that's all there is. There are highs and there are lows. It's not all one high and not one low. It's a mixture of things. And when you die and depart from this earth, that's it, baby. It's the end of it all. As Jim Morrison said, the end of everything that we know. It's the impermeable. It's the end. It's the finality of it all. It just it gave me different sense of views of things, of successes and failures in life, and a different appreciation for other people's hardships and struggles, and my own hardships and struggles, and saying, you know something, to live that and experience all that I have, it's brought me to this place. It's worth something that should be shared with others to help them deal with their own fears, because life is tough, but it shouldn't be lived in fear, because if you live in fear, you're not living. You're only living you're only existing. You're not living. And that's the kind of thing I try to express to people about the paranormal. It's not what you think it is. It is not as bad as people have told you. And those that want that type of experience of fear, I think they almost have to have it, that they can't live in happiness unless they're in a sense of fear, in a state of mind that's fearsome based. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I just know from my experiences and those that I've experienced through others that have been here and other places that I've been to, that fear is the last thing you need in the paranormal field. That's just baseless drama and nonsense. What am I, in a morgue? You guys stop talking. Christ, I put you to sleep, but I slip you a Mickey and you're now passed out or dead.
Well, how can you follow that up,
Just
man?
letting it sink in,
I don't
man.
know. The hell, whatever that was coming out of my mouth was probably more from the spirit world than from me, myself, and I. The three of us in my head are going, who the hell said all that? The one with me is going, I didn't say it. And I was going, I didn't say that either. And myself is going, who the hell was that babbling? It wasn't you two, was it? No, like I said, I channel spirits like to communicate when they have an opportunity. So I said, all right, fine, I'm a vessel. You want to use me as a mouthpiece? Be my guest. What am I going to say? No. They're going to go, really? You said no? Well, here's a kick in the nuts. How does that feel? It's like, I don't like that very much. I'd rather not. And that's an homage to the late Jerry Lewis, which a lot of people are, you're not supposed to, there's an old saying, you don't shit on somebody's grave the day they're buried. That doesn't seem to be the case for Jerry. They seem to be crapping all over him left, right, and center today. And it's like, saying you can't, until you walk and go through what he went through, you can't say otherwise. And I don't know him personally, so I don't say what others have said about him. He was impatient. Look, I only knew one person that gave me a sense of that kind of personality in the entertainment business. And he's been dead for 10 years, so now I can talk about this without any repercussions. With your permission, Richard, and I'm speaking about Richard Dawson. Richard Dawson was one of my godfather's very first managerial clients. And this goes back to 1960, when Richard Dawson was in London working as a stand-up comedian, and his nickname was Tricky Dick. And the people, I forgot what the name of the production company was, that was doing the pilot for Hogan's Heroes, wanted to get Richard to play the part of Newkirk. Well, Richard at the time was a nobody in London. He was a stand-up comedian, nobody in the United States, very, very limited, appearances here. And Leonard, my godfather, brought Richard the role, the piece, the copy for Richard to read for the part of Newkirk. Well, Richard, the pompous, arrogant son of a bitch, said, "Who the fuck do you think I am?" Because I want to play the part of Hogan. But Richard, Hogan's an American serviceman, an American flyer. He goes, "You can't pull off an American accent. You've got the thickest goddamn English accent. The fuck, Richard, don't sit there and don't get upset. Richard, don't give me attitude. Look, this is a part. They asked for you to play this role. Not many people are asking you to play any role at all for anything, Richard, let alone to be in a pilot, which we don't even know what's going to happen to it. And you're bitching about the fact that you and your arrogance want to be the lead, the main character." And I remember the story that my godfather told me. And he said, that son of a bitch, I had to knock and kick him. And finally he agreed to do the role for the pilot. And he's sensational at it. He did a smashing job. That still wasn't good enough for him. He always thought he was, I'm better than this. I'm better than this. It's a slight on my behalf to do this part. It's not enough. The point being is that I then worked at ABC and was on Family Feud. And Richard had, from the outsider's point of view, here it is. I'm a page at ABC, and Richard's on set, and Richard comes in and is talking to somebody, a producer, and Richard hears somebody talking on a telephone, and he turns around with force and anger. And I'm in the frickin' on the set as well. And he goes, "Who?" He goes, "You! Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to talk here. Who the hell do you think you are?" And the girl Paige, stopped. His eyes popped like a gosh darn cherry bomb went off in her head, and she's like, and she starts crying her eyes out. And Richard's like, "I don't fucking believe this." And of course he's taken aback by the fact that he's getting upset and she's taking it the wrong way and not being professional about it, and she's crying. And later on I come to find out, I said, they said, Richard's got a bit of a temper. And I said, "You're telling me?" I said, "I've known him all my life." I said, "Pretty much." And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You have to understand." He goes, "Richard is clothed, or the clothiers that put Richard's wardrobe together is Botany 500. I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know. I see it at the end of the credits every damn show." I said, "Yeah." But he goes, "Did you know that the Botany 500 makes Richard wear those clothes because they're being paid for sponsorship, and he has to wear what they give him?" And I said, "Within reason." He goes, "Yeah, but did you notice that he's always wearing a vest?" And it's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know how many layers of clothes he's wearing on set?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know how fucking hot it is inside of that? He's wearing wool slacks with a wool jacket, with a wool vest, with a cotton shirt, with a wool tie." He goes, "Do you know why the gosh darn set is 60 degrees? Every time you go in there, it's like an icebox." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Because Richard can't be in a room where it's 70 degrees, because if it's 70 degrees in the air, it's 100 degrees under his clothes. So he's constantly perspiring, and it's constantly wearing on him, and it's irritating him." And I said, "Oh, son of a bitch." I said, "Oh, my God." And he goes, "You don't understand the kind of stresses he has to go through in wardrobe and makeup, and he has to constantly, he's working, he does 5 shows." And he says, "And it's hot as hell for him. So he's very short-tempered because it just plays on him, and it really bugs the crap at him. So when he's talking to somebody, he doesn't want to be disturbed because he's wearing these costumes." We'll talk about a monkey suit that he's saying, Richard's wearing this monkey suit, and it wears on him. So his nerves are really worn thin, and he doesn't like it when people are disrespecting what he thinks." I said, "Okay, I understand then." But again, it's about the understanding of what somebody else is going through. And so when people say, "Oh, why aren't you afraid?" It's like, because I am able to put myself in somebody else's shoes and detach myself from my own personal perspective and place in this existence and say, how would I feel if I were in their shoes? And it allows me at least to say, oh, geez, Louise, and go, you know something? I have a better appreciation for who they are, and I understand where they're coming from, and it allows me to breach that space and the gap in between where they are and where I am, and say, you know, I understand where you're coming from. And they, in some sense of the word, they appreciate it and they understand that there's somebody there that understands them. And that's why I say to people about the spirits, I said, how would you feel if you were in France and you didn't speak a lick of French and you saw an American, somebody that spoke English, you heard them and you could only hear them from a distance and you're trying to find them and get through all these people, that you're going to have that kind of like moment. That's what the spirits are trying to do. They're trying to find somebody that can understand them, can hear them, can relate to them on some level. And you shouldn't feel threatened. You should feel appreciation that a spirit is coming across all these planes of existence to communicate with you, because for whatever it is, there's something that resonates in them that's inside of you that's attracting them towards you. Not to harm you, but to find some kind of commonality with you. So that's why I said I have a different perspective about people and about situations and things. And in most cases, I like to put myself in the other person's shoes for a second and kind of try to relate to and understand where it is they're coming from. So that's something that's very unique about my perception of things and situations that I've experienced.
So that wraps up everything that we wanted to ask you. So thank you so much for your time and letting us talk to you and all of that fun stuff. Is there anything you want to say, put out there, anything like that?
No, because I don't want to get philosophical and I don't want to sit there and go on a whole thing about political or whatever. Just one thing I want to say to everybody that's out there listening. And it almost reminds me of something I remember as a kid singing Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the original, not the Wahlburger crappers. No offense, but garbage should be thrown out once a week and never kept on the side of the road for more than 1 week. And those things are garbage. That I remember something that I saw at the very end of the original Beneath the Planet of the Apes. And that's where the whole congregation of humans that are still existing under the earth, they all, at the end, grabbed their scalps and pulled off all of their skins. And you had different people of different nationalities shown in this scene. And when they all finally pulled off their flesh, their skin, their outer coat, all you were left with were human beings with no skin and just veins and whatever. And something that the spirits that the spirits would like me to communicate in the sense is that when you take a human being's outer exterior off, you're all the same. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter what shade of skin you are, where you're from, it's that you're all human beings. And something about that is something that we can't lose sight of. And in these days and these times when we have such, I hate to say, alt-right consternation about blacks and whites and the Mexicans and the Chinese and all this and that you better start to face one simple fact, all of you. You're all a small portion of existing human beings, period. You're flesh and blood. You all have hearts. You all have brains. You better start to realize that that's the thing that you all have uniting yourselves. The color of your skin and what's on the exterior is so pointless and so meaningless. When you literally take a person's heart out of a dying person, you put it into a living person, it's still a heart. It didn't know if it was coming from a black person or a Caucasian or anybody else. So start to realize that we're all human beings trying to get through this existence, and stop browbeating somebody else because of the color of their skin or their nationality. There's no point and no reason for it, because when you die, as my mother said, you're all going to be left as an empty vessel, and all you're going to be left on this earth is that. And what's going to transcend you will be your spirit and your energy. And you better get it through your head that that's what is really going through and what you are in essence. So start treating everybody like you'd like to be treated. And take that to your grave with you. If you want respect, show respect and get respect in return. I'm sick and tired of watching what I'm watching and the disintegration of our country and what's going on with this alt-right and this gosh darn deceptive, disgruntled, dismissive behavior of that we're going to be better off in a clique of our own group. I got news for you. You're wrong. You're fucking wrong. You're not going to be happy because they're then going to be like a pack of rats chewing each other's butts apart because you're not happy about somebody snoring and they're white. Or you're not going to be happy about their accent and they're white. Or they're black. It doesn't matter. You are what you are. Your spirit and soul, your body and that incarnation of flesh and blood on the exterior is meaningless. What you have is your soul, and you better learn to respect others and to have respect for everything, living and dead.
Well said. And out of respect for the spirits, if there's anybody that wants to say anything and have some final words, feel free right now. All right. So October 13th and 14th, you can find tickets at theomenhouse.com. And you're also on Facebook and Instagram under The Omen House. And thank you once again. I'm Mike.
And I'm Russell.
Thanks for listening.
Don't ask where the hell that came from. Some spirit obviously was really pissed off and wanted something said.